welcome back to the Veteran Baker. So today we are going to be doing a Waldorf Astoria chocolate cake with a chocolate buttercream frosting. And just so everyone knows, some of this is time-lapsed and some of it isn't. And the parts that are time-lapsed, I am going to include captions so you can kind of follow along with what we're doing. And I am also at the end going to go over some of the list of ingredients that we use to do this cake. And we are going to do a little piping and some decorating, so it should be a fun experience. So thanks for watching. So we're going to go over our list of ingredients now. We have a half of a cup of butter. We have 2 cups of sugar, 4 squares of unsweetened baker's chocolate, 2 eggs beaten, 1½ cups of sweet milk or just regular milk, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, a teaspoon of vanilla, and 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. And then we have our 2 cups of all-purpose flour, sifted. And then, so for the Waldorf Astoria cake, they usually use walnuts. I am using almonds. And they need to be chopped pretty fine. If you see any big pieces, just kind of break them up because you don't want them sinking to the bottom of your cake. So now that we have greased our cake pans, we lined the bottom of it with parchment paper since we are baking this into layers. So we're going to take our 1 cup measuring cup and evenly distribute between each of the cake pans. Now that it looks like we have about 1/2 of a cup for each cake left, we're going to split it up. So since the actual recipe calls for a 9 by 13, we wouldn't normally bake it in layers, but that's what we're doing now. So we're gonna start out with a 35-minute cook time instead of a 45, and then we'll check it from there. And we're gonna put both cakes in the oven at the same time in the middle rack at 350 degrees. So while the cake is cooling, we are going to make our chocolate buttercream frosting. And we have 6 tablespoons of butter that has been softened to room temperature, and we're just going to put that aside onto the mixer. And now we have a half a cup of our cocoa, 2 2/3 cup of confectioner's sugar, 1/3 of a cup of cream, and a teaspoon of vanilla. So what we're going to do now is we have already sifted our powdered sugar. We're going to sift our cocoa into our powdered sugar mixture because they need to be mixed together. We're just going to get the rest out of this bowl that's stuck down in there. Make sure we get all of our cocoa out. All right, so now we're ready to start beating in everything. So now that we have the whisk attachment put in and we also have our powdered sugar and our cocoa whisked together, we're ready to start mixing everything. So we are going to cream our butter. And then we're going to slowly add in our dry mixture. Hi everyone, so the cake is made and we have decorated it and we've done some piping and it's a beautiful cake. So as promised, I do want to go over some of the ingredients that I used for my cakes and why I prefer to use them. So first I'd like to go over why I use King Arthur flour. It is unbleached, so if you are planning on making a white cake, I would recommend against using that, and probably try maybe White Lily, something that's a bleached flour, because it won't be white. But I rarely make white cake. I usually stick to chocolates and yellow cakes, things like that. So King Arthur is just, when you sift it, you're going to notice the difference. And as always, I sift all of my flours anytime I make anything. So a lot of people tend to say that you don't have to do that. I think it makes for a better cake mixture, easier to mix together. You don't have to worry so much about lumps if you sift everything together. So another thing, I use Nestle Toll House for this chocolate cake for the buttercream frosting. I prefer it. I think it tastes better. It sifts really well. It's wonderful. Love it. My mother uses Ghirardelli, so if you're a fan of Ghirardelli, then I suggest use that. They're two very high quality cocos, so whatever you like, either way there. Sugar. So Domino sugar, hands down. Always use it for everything that I do, even if it's not baking. Domino sugar is just very good quality sugar. Their powdered sugar sifts very well. Their granulated sugar, it's just a really wonderful sugar to use. So those are my recommendations, and those are some of the finer ingredients that we use. Now for the melted chocolate, we used Baker's chocolate. That's what it's called. It's a go-to. I mean, it's a must. And for the chocolate shavings on top, which are semi-sweet, the chocolate that we used for the actual cake is unsweetened chocolate, as I'm sure you read in the captions. The shavings that are on the top are semi-sweet because you want a little sweetness to the top of your cake. So both of them are Baker's chocolate. It's wonderful chocolate. You can get it almost anywhere, and that's what I do recommend. Another thing is we're going to go over the icing of the cake. So when you do have a layer cake and you're icing the sides of it, make sure that you're not bearing down too hard because you can rip some of the coating off of the side of your cake. Like your cake could start to crumble apart right in front of you, and it's not a good look. And it's going to be very hard to cover up if you do start separating some of the cake off there, mixing it into your icing. So be very careful, very light hand, put a very, very light coat around the whole thing, and then go over it with a heavier coat. Now mine's time-lapse, so you can't really see that I'm doing that, but that is what's going on there, is you put a light coat and then you put a heavier one on the side. And just make sure you're using a very light hand so you're not ripping off any of the cake when you're going around. So, another thing is a traditional Waldorf Astoria cake uses walnuts. I decided not to do that because I had these really great fresh almonds already on hand. I love almonds. Almonds in cake are wonderful, so that's what we decided to use. If you are going to go the more traditional route and use the walnuts, it's the exact same measurement. You don't have to change anything. You just replace everything with walnuts. And I suggest if you are going to garnish the top with walnuts, just to crush them and sprinkle them around the top with your chocolate shavings, which all of that is optional. You do not have to decorate your cake at all. If you are somebody that's a more simplicity, kind of don't really want a whole lot going on with their cake, just frost it and serve it, and that should be just fine. So I just wanted to thank everyone for watching, and if you like this video, please share it, and share it with your friends and your family, and on any social media, of course, trying to get our name out there. So just, I hope everyone enjoyed just as much as I did making and editing this video. So thanks, and have a great day.